that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you...
Hi, warriors, and welcome to Soul Spark. It's a podcast where we embark on the grief warrior's path. I'm Rachel Vasquez, your host, guide, and ally on this transformative journey. And I'm really excited today to invite my friends, Jenn Johnson and Jenn Fortune. They are, they are my Wisters. My widow sisters from Modern Widows Club is how we met. And they also lead the dating club for Modern Widows Club, in addition to so many other things that I'm going to let them talk about. And I'm really excited, you guys. So it's a couple weeks after Valentine's Day. And I thought it would be a good time after the frenzy of Valentine's Day has kind of died down to start bringing up what that holiday brought up for you, the listener, and where you are right now. So did it bring up a lot of painful memories of being with your loved one, or did it bring joy into your space of fond memories? Or did it maybe start making you think about what it would be like to be involved in a relationship again and maybe want to take those steps into the dating world? So I thought, of course, no better people to have this conversation with than you guys. So why don't you guys introduce yourself and tell me all about your business and everything, and your little your journey, your love stories, and I'd love to hear it all.
Thanks so much for having us on today, Rachel. We love you so much, and we're just so excited to be here. We're always excited to talk to a Wister and to put some wisdom and joy into the world however we can. I'm Jenn Johnson. I have been widowed for just over 11 years. My husband Todd passed away in day after Christmas in 2012 of a sudden unexpected heart attack. We have two kids together. They are now 16 and 18. They were 5 and 7 at the time. So yeah, it's been definitely a journey. As far as my dating journey goes, I really took like the first 5 years to focus on myself and my kids, just kind of get us adjusted as much as we could. I actually moved from Seattle down to the Los Angeles area. So took some time to get established in my community here, meet some new friends. And then, yeah, it was just one December, I decided, you know what, I'm ready. I'm ready to put myself out there, and downloaded an app, and thus began the experience of dating in a world that is very different from when I met my late husband in the 90s. I think everyone can relate to that. And so, yeah, and in that time also, I found Modern Widows Club. Actually, that was about 3 months after my husband died. I found Modern Widows Club, became a community advocate within that organization. Jenn and I met, and we have been super blessed to be able to mentor widows together. And a couple of years ago, the organization said, you know what, we've done this great survey with our community, and so many widows want to know what it's like to get back out into the dating world. It takes a lot of bravery. There's a lot of curiosity. There's a lot of unknowns. And so Jenn and I were fortunate enough to be asked to lead the dating club group. And that has just exploded and grown into, a beautiful thing that we didn't really expect. And our own business has been launched out of it as well.
That is so amazing. And it's true. I mean, we both spoke at the Widow Conference last September in St. Louis. And I just really thoroughly enjoyed hearing all of your wisdom and the humor. And, there's so much that goes into those awkward moments of, wanting to date again or not wanting to date again. And when's a good time? I mean, oh my gosh, the questions go on and on. So
They really
it's
do.
wild for sure. Jenn, how about you?
Yeah, we actually really embrace those awkward moments. And especially myself, I tend to be the comedian of the group because awkwardness comes naturally. But, we love to be raw and real and unfiltered because we want the ladies to really know the depths and to really connect with us in a deep way. And right, when you're real, that's when people really connect. My name is Jenn Fortune. I have been widowed since 2002. So it's been quite a long journey for me. I did get married a few years after my husband passed away. I met somebody new. And that marriage was for about 10 years. It wasn't the best marriage, but we won't talk about how it wasn't the best marriage, other than it wasn't the best marriage. And so that ended, I would say, maybe about 8 or 9 years ago. And at that same time, I got involved with Modern Widows Club and became a community advocate in the area that I was in, Southern Illinois, and was able to really focus on growth, inner growth. So I've been actually single for the last 8 or 9 years and enjoy every bit of it. I've taken that time to go inward, do that deep inner work, that deep healing, because I've had to heal from widowhood and divorce. So I have the two different aspects there. And that's a whole other podcast, right? But yeah, it's so exciting that I got to meet Jenn. There's another Jennifer, so like we call ourselves the Jens, and we've been on quite the journey together. But Jenn and I have just really connected, heart connected, and we found so much joy. We found so much joy in these last few years mentoring the women and our widows in our organization to find love again. We at the heart and core of who we are as a team and as women who desire to show women the way to the path of love again and repartnering, we at our core, we are about love and love in every way, but starting with self-love first and really healing the inner parts and learning how to love ourselves, because we truly believe, and you hear this all the time, but we truly believe when you love yourself, you emanate love and you attract love, and you want to attract the right kind of love. So beautiful love. Thank you for having us.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I love everything you said. It makes me really think about the three different journeys that we've been on since we've lost our partners. You with going through the divorce, and now the new life that you've created even since then, and the growth. And then Jenn Johnson, with your stepping back into that dating pool, and I have not. And I'm over 5 years out, and I'm just really focused on what you're talking about, is that inner love and finding that those foundational pieces. And that's really, I love that you help women learn that about themselves. And I think about like you had said, Jenn Johnson, about being in the early 90s with your husband. And that was me too, and it's so funny because my daughter and I have been rewatching the Friends episodes, and the clothing and the way that they banter and talk, like it really took me back to the way that I thought, and the fun time it was when I was with my husband.
Mhm.
And then I think how much I've changed and how much I've learned over the last couple of decades, so that if I chose to start dating now, it would not be anybody that I would have chosen back in 93, so that was something I was thinking about as I was watching those episodes of like, oh, Joey's so cute, but I don't know if I would like him now, or maybe it would be the paleontologist who's got a stable career and is like more toned down. So I just was laughing at that amusing thought process, preparing for us today. So that was really great. What do you guys, what is your most commonly asked question?
Oh, the dating apps, the dating apps, the dating apps, the
Yeah.
dating apps. Like
Yeah.
every time we think that we've like talked the dating apps like out, like, we've out talked dating apps, there's another question about the dating apps.
Or some new app pops up that we haven't experienced. So then we've got to dive deep into like figuring out that whole app, because yeah, it's constantly changing. The apps, the way that they function, the algorithms that they use, the features that they have, the number of apps, the types of apps. I mean, it's ongoing. So Jenn and I mean, the dating apps should be hiring us as their test market, because we have been through it and through it and through it, testing them constantly so that we can report back to our ladies.
And it's ladies of all ages,
Yes. Yes.
from the young all the way to the very mature. They all want to know about the apps. It's
Yeah.
terrifying and exciting and all of the things. So yeah.
Do you hear back, like, are they having luck on the apps, or are they better off, or does it just, maybe it doesn't matter, but like, is it better when they find it organically through, work or church or, classes or, in areas of interest to them? I think the apps are so scary.
Honestly, I really believe that majority of women, people in general, want to meet organically. I think that's the innate desire of all of us, because the apps are terrifying. They are. And it's not because horrible things happen. It's just the conception, right? The preconception of it all. And so Jenn and I, we go through it so that we can explain it in detail for everyone. And then we lead them on the process of how to create a profile, how to look for people, what to look for, what not to look for, what to post, what not to post, what to share, what not to share, don't overshare. And when you're ready to share, especially about widowhood, you have to be extra careful because there's a preconception about widowhood and widows have money, et cetera, et cetera. So we do that. And then the ladies do report to us. Some of them have really amazing experiences, and some of them are like, nope, not for me. And, even the both of us, like for myself, I take breaks. Like I am only on there. Actually, now I only go on the apps when we're about to have what we call an app party, which we go with the ladies and we show them all the things about the apps. And then when I travel, that's the only time I'm on the app. And the rest of the time, I have to take a break, because honestly, I truly want to meet somebody organically as well.
Yeah. Yeah. People tend to have just whatever works best for them. And Jenn and I always say, do what works best for you. Some people become more comfortable with the apps. Some people would rather the organic. Some people are not ready, but they kind of come to our group as kind of a fly on the wall to kind of hear all of the things, so that when they become ready, they're going to be well equipped with the information they need. Yeah, we've heard success stories. We've heard, not great successful stories. We've heard all across the gamut. So it really is what comes down to, it comes down to what works best for you, as an individual, what your personal preferences are.
But we always encourage people to give it a try. Give it a try.
Yeah. I just said to somebody in a conversation the other day, and I don't think it was with you, Jenn, I think it was somebody else, even though Jenn and I talk about this stuff all the time. Thinking about apps is pretty overwhelming when you think about making a profile, having to describe yourself, trying to thumb through, all of the people that are on there and try and find somebody that is aligned with you. And I said, for me, the apps they were really overwhelming in the beginning. And then I started to have this vision of it, like back in the 90s when we were meeting partners back then, or even before that, if you walked into a bar and there were a sea of people in the bar and you're like, wow, well, that person's attractive, that person's attractive, but I don't know. I don't really know. It's kind of, to me, is the same thing. You're walking into a situation where you have all these people to choose from. However, if you imagine walking into that bar back then and a little thing popped up over their heads going, hey, I'm a Christian. Hey, I like to hike. And it kind of gave you some clues about that person. It actually would give you some really good, a really good avenue to get to to know whether somebody would be the right fit for you or not. And back then you wouldn't know unless you actually started talking to them, versus this, it kind of gives you a little bit of like, oh, nope, definitely not. So it kind of helps you get through the sea of people a little bit more easily. So it just really depends on your perspective. It is really overwhelming, but if you put it in a way, if you kind of craft it in a way that works for you, then it kind of takes the overwhelming away.
I love that.
Wow.
Love it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And you said something that, well, there was two different things. So I'm like, okay, hold both thoughts. Um, and when you're saying, that when you're doing your profile, and if we are in a space of not really finding like our self-love and connecting with our who we are now, and feeling a little empowered, that can really, I guess I would think if I was feeling really bad about myself and I filled out a profile, then I wouldn't be coming from the strongest place. And then the people that I would be attracting to me may not be the best, or what I'm looking for, or what I want to welcome into my life too. So that's yet another reason. That thought had occurred to me when you're talking about having to fill that out, and how to fill it out, and what I would say about myself would make me feel a little intimidated, I feel. And,
Exactly. And that's why we love having these app parties, but we also love working with the inside, right? Because when we work one-on-one with our two-on-one, actually we call it two-on-one, when we work two-on-one with our clients and with our ladies, really you get to that place, you do the inner work, and we also help them create that profile. So, they may write something and then we'll edit it out. We even edit each other out sometimes. We help each other. It's always good to have your friends help you through the process, because don't our friends typically see us more beautifully than we see ourselves sometimes? So yeah, it's always nice to have that extra help along the way. Yeah.
Yes. Now, I know that I've heard through a couple times we were together in Scottsdale and then again in St. Louis, and I have heard women say, how do I know when I'm ready? I know that's probably a common question. So what are the really good markers to say, okay, you're definitely ready to start expanding out into the possibilities, at least, of dating?
You want to take that one, Jen, or you want me to take that one?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think if we are at a place where we are pretty aware of who we are and can kind of hear and feel those internal things kind of shifting and churning within us, and one of those things you're hearing and feeling is like, oh, companionship again might be nice, or gosh, I would just love somebody to go to the movies with. Maybe it would be nice to have love again in my life. And they're just little snippets that you hear or feel as you go along. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're 100% ready. That just means you're curious and ready to start investigating and maybe discovering, exploring whether it could be the right thing for you. And I mean, none of us are ever 100% ready to step into this, ever. And even now, there are times like Jen talked about taking a break. There are times where you go, oh, maybe just this isn't the right time. And there are those moments. However, underlying is that still that like that desire, that sweet little desire that you are ready to have companionship in your life. And that companionship can look however you want it to. It could be just having a friend to take hikes with and go to the movies with. It could be falling in love. It could be getting married or having commitment ceremony. It could be all of the things, just having a partner in your life that brings you some of that energy and joy and feeling of love that you had with your late partner. So, but there is not one person that I have encountered anyway that has said, oh yeah, 100% ready, let's go. It's always been with, well, I think I'm ready. I'm kind of ready, and there's ladies that have been coming to our group for 2-3 years now who still are not ready. But again, they're just exploring within themselves. And the more you explore, the more ready you are in the end.
And the beautiful thing about widowhood is that most of us have experienced love, beautiful love. We know what it's like to be loved well, and to love so well, right? And so who wouldn't want that again, right? Again, there's so many thoughts that go with that. Am I cheating on my husband? Am I, maybe I'll never want to get married ever again. I mean, I think I would say 99% of us, I don't want to lump everybody, I'll leave the 1% out, but 99% of us said it, when our husbands died, and never going to love anybody ever again. That was it for us. But, because that love that we experienced was so special, so beautiful, so treasured, there's a time that comes when you're like, I think I'm ready to open myself up and experience that again. It'd be nice to be held, it'd be nice to, do all the things that Jenn spoke about. And it's that moment you go, okay, I think I'm going to open myself up to this. So we just love walking the ladies through this process. Yeah.
I love how it's like you know what I'm going to ask next, and you just create these beautiful segues into it. I love the panel that you were on, and the dating panel. And part of that dating panel was our friend John Polo, who is a widower and a coach and public speaker as well. And he has several books out. And so it was really cool having that perspective, and then the perspective coming from the widow, and what that looks like in that dynamic. And one of the things that I remember that resonated just with me so hardcore is about having the negotiables and the non-negotiables. So when you're like, yes, I would be open to love again because I had beautiful love in my life at one time. And I also know, like, through my marriage and my ups and downs, and then just who I have become now, of things that I would say, no, thank you. If you like to leave your dirty socks on the couch, I don't want to cross that ever again. And that's, a done deal. If you leave dirty socks on the couch, forget it, or whatever that may be for you. So do you guys do a process that helps women figure out, like, what it is, or is it all kind of in one? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll just touch on this and I'll let Jenn take over. But we have our journal that you've probably heard about. We created a guided journal, your sacred love story, which is basically our heart's desires. You get to create your love story. Really? I get to create my love story? Yes, you do. You do this from the inside out, right? And part of creating that a sacred love story for yourself, designing that love that you desire, is knowing what your non-negotiables are. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I know I say that so much, but it's important to know what your non-negotiables are, and it's, again, something that stays, it's embedded in you, it's inside of you. We know what worked in our relationships in the past, and we know what didn't work in our relationships in the past. We know what we've healed through. We know who we are now as women who have gone through one of the most tragic things that you can go through, and trauma-filled things you can go through. We've done the healing, right? And what you said earlier, who you would have dated in the 90s definitely is not somebody you would date now. And Jenn and I say that too. Like, we wonder if we met our husbands today, would they even be somebody that we would choose today? That doesn't take away what we had and the beautiful relationships we had, and how we grew through all of that, and how we loved so beautifully. But honestly, we are different women now, and we know what we want and what we don't want. And we tell the ladies all the time, like, we get questions like, I'm talking to this guy, I don't feel aligned, what should I do? I'm like, let it go, end it, to move forward. Don't stay in it. Why are you still there? And clearly there's something in you that knows that this is not going to work. So we have to teach the ladies how to end relationships, how to end conversations. And yeah, because that non-negotiable is so very important. Go ahead, Jenn.
Yeah, and those non-negotiables, they may have changed drastically from when we were partnered before and to who we are now. I mean, I can think of 100 different examples, but I know, like, for myself, I I know there are some things at my core I'm always going to want with someone, and that I had with my late husband, someone who has a spiritual, foundation and curiosity that wants to continue to grow and expand. But like with my late husband, he was very spiritually based. However, he wasn't looking to grow and expand in certain ways. And at the time, I wasn't either. But now that I've had this experience of widowhood, my desire to continue growing and learning what my soul's destiny and purposes in this world, and just exploring different parts of spirituality that I hadn't done before. I couldn't be with somebody now who didn't have that desire to grow. And so that's just an example of the types of things that could become non-negotiables in our new lives that weren't there before. Or maybe you were a smoker in your past, I don't want to say past life, but your life before widowhood. And you thought, okay, I'm going to get healthy. I'm not going to smoke anymore. And now a non-negotiable for you is I can't be with someone who smokes. So those things absolutely, there are surface things, there are really deep things. There's so many aspects to our character and our internal being now that weren't probably there before. And so, yeah, Jenn's right. Like, I don't know that if my late husband just showed up, whether we would be aligned anymore. But it's that as we go through this process of growing and healing, if we're taking note of how we're changing and who we are becoming, and that's really key. And that's one of the things that we go through very first line and in the journal is writing down who you are now, because it's really hard to see how we've changed unless we actually do that reflection and discover like, oh, some things about myself that I kind of knew, but I didn't really know. And now that I put those down on paper, I can then look at, okay, what I want in a person now. Some things may be the same as my late partner. Some things may be completely different. So writing those all down, and then you can take it next level and go, okay, what does a new kind of relationship look like for me? Yeah. But it is really reflecting on and tuning into those things about ourselves that we can now celebrate. All that strength, resilience, beauty, expansion, ability to love at a much deeper level, all of those things that we didn't have before.
Yeah, and I want to add one more thing that Jenn and I have also talked about and experienced in our relationships as we've been in dating relationships. When you identify those non-negotiables, you write them down in the journal, like we talk about, you have it written down, and then you're going through your relationship and there might be a moment where you're like, something is just not right. You can always go back and you can look at that list, and we talk about it all the time. You go back and you look at it and go, this might have been a superficial non-negotiable. This one might be a in-depth, core non-negotiable. But when you go through it, you can go, okay, so can I live with this, thing, or am I going to stick to this non-negotiable and let it be a deciding factor?
But that is the core beauty of this, is that we have the ability to craft it exactly the way we want to.
Yes.
Like Jenn said, we are creating the exact love story within ourselves and externally that we want. We can do whatever we want.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. And it's almost like once you have those things in place, then you just are opening up, to God and the universe and saying, I'm wide open to having this type of person come into my life. And this is what I'm looking for. Right. And I imagine, Jenn Fortune, with you and your spiritual walk and your flock of being, are you a rabbi yet, or are you? I'm not
on
sure.
The path.
On the path, yes, exactly. And so that would be, I'm sure you have a lot of things that have to come into your spiritual alignment. That's very important to you. And Jenn Johnson and I, have children, and how that's going to play into those pieces as well, and what that what that's going to look like, I would think, into that. And also for me personally, is that I am constantly changing. I feel like I have done this quantum leap of changing and developing and what I want and what I desire and where I'm going. And so that's one of the reasons I feel at this point in my journey, I'm not ready to welcome anyone into my life in that capacity, because I am so quickly evolving and embracing what I'm building in my business and experiencing the love and things that I want to do with my children. And maybe it can be considered a little selfish or not, but I am just loving to have all of that to myself right now and will not want to expand that out. And so maybe once that slows down, maybe then I'll take a look at the ideas of dating somebody. But I just am very happy where I am. And I think that that's really what women need to self-evaluate, is like, so if you have that room, go for it.
That's so beautiful, Rachel. I love that so much for you, because to be in that place where you have, done the growth and allowed yourself to really bloom as a woman, and now really being present. That's what you're doing. You're being present in your life, and you're being all encompassing and embracing every area, and you're putting yourself and family first. That is never selfish. That's so important. And when you have done that part and you're in that space, it might just happen out of the blue and catch you off guard, and you're going to take your breath away. And that's the best time for something like that to happen. So, whenever you're ready, it'll happen. I like what you said a little earlier too, about, knowing what you want, and then releasing it, right? Releasing it to God, universe, like you said. And, Jen and I, we have done that. We've made our lists, and, our lists are very long and very detailed, because we believe in being very detailed about what you desire. And, it was 2019, I was sitting at Jenn's kitchen table, and we had written our list, and we shared our list, went back and forth. And just like how you said, with my path and the direction I'm going spiritually, I have to be really detailed and really careful, right? And I looked at my list and I said to Jenn, I don't know if this person exists, Jenn. I don't know if it's possible, right? And she looked at it, she was like, yeah, I don't know either. And we were both like, it would have to be a God thing. And we're like, it totally would have to be a God thing. And then on the next page, I wrote a letter to the Lord, and I said, these are the desires of my heart. This is what I want. You know what I want, but you know what's best for me. So I release and I surrender. And we say that all the time: release and surrender, your will be done. And so that's that. Release and surrender is so important. Believe it or not, though, the next day or a couple of days later, I did meet somebody who met practically everything on that list. Now, we're not together, we're friends, but it helped me see that that was possible, that he is out there, somewhere out there.
Yeah. And I've experienced similar things where my list has been, it's embodied, however many characteristics or desires for somebody. Now I've met that person, and then things don't work out. And then I go, oh, well, because I didn't make myself clear about this one thing. And so then go back and tweak my list, and then meet somebody who kind of embodies those things. And it's just kind of this beautiful dance in discovering deeper things about myself, and something that I thought that I wanted, but I wasn't totally clear on, and then making that thing really clear. And that's not necessarily about them, that's about me, and knowing even more clearly about what it is that I want. And it's also, I love that you're taking this time for yourself, that you're honoring yourself in that way, because Jenn and I have both done that at different times. And sometimes, we'll date somebody and then like, no, you know what? I'm going to go back and spend some time on my own again. I'm doing that right now. And that's just an opportunity to then continue fine tuning. And dating is also, I like to say it's an experiment in getting to know yourself better. Yeah. And so often in dating, we put the experience of dating onto that person that we are dating and not really looking at how we are approaching it and how we are embodying it and what it can do for us in teaching us to become more of who we're meant to be. And so you can have, those times of honoring yourself and really taking the step back and doing what you need to do. And because intuitively, you need to do it. And then you go, oh, you know what? Maybe it'd be fun to meet somebody now based on who I am right now. And then you have that experience and then you go back and do some more for yourself and then go meet somebody with that version of you, and until it's just this constant experimentation until you find that person that happens to align with you perfectly and happens to grow with you. So that could happen out of nowhere, like Jenn said, or it could happen over a period of time. But the whole point is you getting to grow and discover more about yourself.
Wow, you guys are just so wise when it comes to this type of conversation and experience. I really know that anyone who finds their way to working with both of you is going to be on the right path for love and self-exploration in those areas. I think that that's tremendous. I also wanted to also bring up a point of, I think, especially at the beginning, I would imagine, and I only say this because this is something I would do. I feel very different in who I am physically from the young 22-year-old that I was back in the day, to where I've, 4 children later and a weight gain through like my husband's accident and death. And that was the way that I coped. It was, like through a lot of eating and things like that. And now it's kind of like, okay, so now as I'm working on my physical self, how that makes me feel in the way that I'm going to show up in relation to dating. And whether you're somebody who's like lost a lot of weight or has aged, like I felt like at one point I woke up and I had aged 25 years. Looking in the mirror, I was like, and it had only been a week after his accident, and I was like, who is this person? And what advice, I guess, would you give to someone who's really kind of battling that they are not like physically the same person that they were in their youth, and kind of struggling with how to show up now in that dating world? I don't know if that really makes sense, but it's kind of like that, darn it, why don't I look like that 20-year-old something person with all of the knowledge and the growth that I've done now, and have, and then show up online. And now I feel awkward because I'm really hard on myself as to like physically and that type of thing,
Okay, I'm gonna hit it, Jenn.
Yeah, I knew you'd jump on this one first.
Because I know that journey. I've been there, when my husband passed away, I was 28 years old. I was, much younger then. And when he passed away, I actually lost a lot of weight and looked my best, actually. I was young and I lost a lot of weight. I looked really good. I was really fit. I was working out, and it wasn't intentional. It was just part of my process, And then I got married again. And in that marriage, I kind of, just, when you're married, sometimes you eat and you're happy, and that's what you do together. You eat, right? And if you're with somebody who doesn't work out, then you put on some weight, right? And then when we went through that divorce, it was so traumatic for me. It actually wasn't a good marriage. So there was a lot of trauma in that marriage, and I put on a lot of weight. And I was actually at my heaviest that I've ever been. And I'm a tiny person, so to put on a lot of weight, it's not healthy. And I was constantly sick when I was in my second marriage. in and out of the hospital, that fibromyalgia diagnosis that's not really fibromyalgia, but they don't know anything that's going on with you. So, they're just trying to figure it out. So constantly in and out of the hospital, constantly sick, overweight. And when I finally broke free from that marriage and started to care for me and love myself and heal, I started to get healthier, actually. Wasn't so sick anymore. And I would say in the last 3 years, I've lost about 35 to 40 pounds. And I'm at the weight that I was when my husband passed away, a long time ago. And not the weight that I lost and, got thinner with then, but I'm at this weight where I'm like, oh, I could lose a little bit more in that healthy way, continue to lose in that healthy way, and be in that mind frame of, you think clearer, you feel better. And okay, this is my silliness, okay, coming through. And when I meet my guy and I get married again, I'm going to look really good in my wedding dress and I'm going to have really great wedding photos. Okay. That's like my vanity thought process there. But when you feel better, you're healthier, clothes looks really nice on you. Your skin is more illuminating, right? When you're hydrated and you're healthy, you put your better self forward and you become the best version of yourself. I love where I'm at right now. I'm almost 50. And, that would have been really painful to say before, but I actually love who I am when I look in the mirror. I feel really good about myself. And Jenn knows I've had to work really hard to get to that point. She saw me when I was going to meet somebody or, go on a possible date or something, change 5 or 6 times because I couldn't feel good in anything that I wore. And she would be like, enough already, you look fine, and then she would, you're so beautiful. Why can't you see that? Right. And so when you get to this healthier space from loving yourself and taking care of yourself and going through that healing process, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, then you'll look at yourself in the mirror, things start to look good. You tend to, purchase clothes that look even more better on yourself and you put your best self forward. And I hope that answered your question a little bit. But it takes a point where you look at yourself and you go, I need to do something to feel better. And so you start eating healthier, drink more water, and supplements, do the things to help yourself feel healthy. But to be honest, it's spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. That's number one. That's first. You have to be of the right mind. You have to be in the right emotional state in order to get to that place where you will then do the physical work to create your body the way that you would like for it to look. Am I ever going to be that fit girl? Muscle girl that goes to the gym and, does this thing? Probably not. It's hard for me to go to the gym, but I am going to do steps to keep myself healthy. I'm going to go walk. I might go on the treadmill. I might lift some weights every now and then, but, it's different for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say for myself, I mean, I physically have not changed much since my husband passed away. But in those early years, I became a hardcore runner. And I wasn't out doing marathons or anything. I was running on my treadmill at home. I had to be at home because I had young kids. But I tried as much as I could to get on a treadmill because it was the only time that I felt like I could escape my reality, but also process and feel and hear all of the voices in my head, basically representing all of the stress I had in my life. So I did lose some weight and I got really strong and really fit, but it wasn't because I felt like I needed to change my body. It was because I needed to change that internal stuff that Jenn was just talking about. And I realized over time to really listen to my body and feel, to really reflect on how I felt. You can be really thin or have what you perceive to have the perfect body and still feel like crap. And I'm not just talking emotionally. You may not be eating the right things. You may not be, maybe having a glass of wine every night and your body doesn't like wine, whatever it is. And so I realized over time, I just need to listen to what makes me feel good. And for me, that was eating more clean. And that gave me brain power. It gave me energy. It gave me, the ability to, work through some of my stuff a little bit more easily. And again, with the supplements and all of that Jenn's talking about, but that for me, it was just like vitamins. And then, I won't even get into the whole like premenopause thing because that was wreaking havoc. Also, I just turned 50. So like in my 40s was when I did my hard grieving and perimenopause kicked in. And so I was like all the things from all angles. But I go back to it doesn't matter what weight I am or, the fact that my muscle tone is going away. Thank you, menopause. It's how do I feel? How do I feel? And if I don't feel like I'm, in my best brain power, or I'm feeling really lethargic or lacking motivation, okay, cool. I'm going to address that. The physical part of me doesn't matter. It's that, because that's what keeps me sane. But okay, aside from that, my other piece of wisdom to impart on this is if you're out there on the dating apps, out meeting people organically, everyone else that's in our age group, we're all showing up with scars of some sort.
Yeah.
No one's body looks like it did 20 years ago. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you get the, couple of people here and there that are still super fit and haven't aged and they have some magical well somewhere that they're drinking from. But most people, they're all aging just like us. Their bodies don't look amazing either, right?
Yeah.
So if you can approach dating now with that knowledge that everyone is coming forward with their scars, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever it is. But physically, first and foremost, per this conversation, no one looks perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're all in this age group. This is what it is.
Yeah.
I want to say one more thing that Jenn's on point, right? And I do want to say this for those who struggle with weight and loving yourself the way you look, whether it's too thin or overweight or just happy, comfortable where you're at. But you look at yourself in the mirror and you are judging yourself and you're hard on yourself for whatever reason it is. I encourage you to really work on loving yourself and being able to look at yourself in all of your glory, all of the essence of who you are, and seeing the woman that you have become, the woman that you have had to fight to become, the woman that you have grown to become, and really love her. This is a little TMI, but at one point I was looking at myself in the mirror, just all natural. Okay. No, I don't know anyone who likes to look at themselves all natural, especially girls who are overweight. We do not like to look at ourselves all natural. Okay. And so I'm looking at myself in the mirror. And before, my self-talk would be, no one's going to love you. No one's going to want that. That's, gross or whatever. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But I look at myself now. There was a point where I looked at myself and I said, somebody will be so lucky to be able to love you and all of you because you are beautiful. And I was able to finally see myself in the essence of who I was and with my flaws and go, beautiful, 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 beautiful. And I'll take it back to when I was married to my first husband, Stephen. I was chubby back then too, okay? But if I looked at myself now, it would have been, oh my gosh, you were perfect. But I was overweight back then, just a little bit. And when he would love me, I would say, but I'm whatever, I would say overweight or whatever, the not nice word about myself. And he would go, no, you are beautiful. And he loved me for who I was. And so, like Jenn is saying, that right person, that person that is meant to be our person, is going to love us the essence of who we are. Because we truly believe it's truly about connection, that chemical connection. And that goes and bypasses any insecurity, any thought that we have looking at ourselves. We can pick ourselves apart, even the most what you think is perfect looking person, can find something to pick themselves apart. But really, when you meet your person, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I love that. And it's part of, one of the things that I do is help take the stories that we're telling ourselves and make those shifts and what it is that we want to believe instead, and working into that alignment, because everyone, none of us can go back to the way that we were. And maybe we didn't even like ourselves back then, but now really loving and appreciating who we are now. And finding that so beautiful and attractive. Oh, thank you guys so much. Now I know we're out of time. If there's anything else that you would like to talk about, or I am going to put the your workbook journal in the show notes, so if people will go to that. And anything else before we wrap up?
We're just so grateful to be here. We thank you for allowing us to have this beautiful conversation with you. And I mean, Jenn and I we just want to put love in the world in all ways, right? And we know you do too. And so getting to do this together is pretty magical. We appreciate
Really,
it.
really special. Thank you so much, Rachel. We appreciate this time. We appreciate you bringing us on and seeing our hearts and our passion, and inviting the world to come in and see what we have to offer, and allowing us this space to be able to share it, because we really do desire to spread love and help people love from the inside out.
Thank you. I just really love to speak with people who have, no judgment in our hearts, and just pure love and the desire for wanting the best from everyone. So I really want to thank you guys for joining us. Thank you all for listening. Love you all. And we'll talk again soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long.